Hi, this is Josh Andrews, and today we're going to buzz through really quickly how we verify collateral value. Now, collateral value is the most important thing when making a loan outside of the borrower himself. So we're going to talk about what really goes into checking collateral value and verifying it, and then also this concept that actual real value of what something is worth really depends on what other people would pay for it, which sounds a little simplistic. And that amount that other people would pay for it and the demand changes with time. So we're going to talk about the appraisal. What is this? An appraisal is the first line of verification. What you're going to do with this is you have an independent professional valuation by a licensed appraiser. And you're going to want to make sure that the lender orders this appraisal, not the borrower. The borrower is going to try, they're going to say, oh, well, I've worked with an appraisal company in the past, etc. That's a no-go for security reasons. They may have somebody that works over there, they may have a buddy. You want a third party that has nothing to do with this borrower to order it. And so we tend to use AMCs, which are companies that have appraisal networks all across the US. And so they'll pick somebody randomly for us who's a licensed appraiser. You want to really focus on appraisers that are specializing in the asset class that you're doing. Now, that means if you're doing single family homes, you want to have somebody that specializes in that. You don't want to have somebody that specializes in single family go and review or do an appraisal on a multifamily. Not to say they can't do it, it's just not a good marriage of their expertise, and you want to find somebody who actually knows what they're doing in that respect. So what's in an appraisal? An appraisal really simply is some basic items. I mean, there's a lot here. You can see I have a picture of just a table of contents on a recent appraisal that we have. It's about 53 pages. We're not going to go through all that. And basically you have photos of the interior, exterior, you have any blueprints, drawings, plans, you have comparable properties. So comparable properties are your sales comps, right? To kind of figure out what's sold recently that's comparable to this property. What does the market look like? The conditions, is it trending up? Is it trending down? And then you're going to have the appraiser's comments, right? If there's any issues with the property that he sees, anything that's not completed, things like that. And you're going to typically want an as-is appraisal. So as-is just means, we're not speculating on if repairs were made, it's going to be worth this in the future. It's right now, as we're lending money on it, what does that look like? And if there is repairs that are needed in the future, basically you can chart those out. You can do as-is and then after repair in the appraisal, and that's useful. So here's just a really quick, we won't get too far into this, but just a really quick appraisal report, like one page of it. You can see it's very detailed. There's a lot of stuff here. I've redacted some borrower and property information here just to be respectful. But you can see that there's a lot of different things going on here. There's some check boxes. So there is an opportunity for the appraisers to get lazy, and we'll discuss that here in just a minute. But essentially what you want to do is you want to have this created. They're going to go through, basically give you a appraisal, and then you're going to double check it. So the appraiser is going to include photos, interior, exterior, something like this. This is a project we did a while back. And before I get into a little bit more, we'll talk about just basic types of appraisals. So you want to, like I said, have the appraisal that fits the project. Not every appraisal is the same. And so let's say you have a single family and you're going to think about doing a loan against that. You're going to typically have like a uniform residential appraisal report, and that's like a form 1004. And so that's just like single family home, detached or a manufactured home with a permanent foundation, that's considered a home. You've got condos, right? So form 1073 is a basic condo form. And then you have a commercial narrative report. So commercial narrative is the most expensive and the longest. So I've seen these be 150 pages. So let's say you're doing like a warehouse, right? So you kind of want to know, what's the demand for that sort of product there? If you had to sell this, what is it worth, what is sold recently in the last year, 2 years, how many days on the market has it been, is the area trending up, trending down, crime, jobs, all of those things. And so typically, like with commercial stuff, you have a lot more that goes into those type of appraisals. And you can see I just included a little drop down here on one of our appraisal AMCs or companies that we use to source appraisals. And there are probably 100 different types of reviews and appraisals. So you have to kind of know what you're looking for, or more importantly, what you're expecting to get out of it, right? And for us, we want to know as is appraisal values. So assume the borrower stops paying. How are we protected? What does this look like? And then we want to know trends. So trends over the market. Is this declining? Is this going to get worse over the next, let's say 24 months? And we're looking at shorter term trends because we're in shorter term loans of 6 to maybe 12 months. And then after we have the appraisal back, right? So we've got a licensed appraiser that's done that. We have it back. We send this to an appraisal review. So we look at the appraisal ourselves, and then we send this to a third party. So think of it as like a second appraiser review that verifies the comparables, just the basic information that is in this appraisal. And why that's useful is it's like a second opinion. An appraiser typically does these in good faith, but sometimes they get lazy. Sometimes they use comparables that are inaccurate or not helpful, or it could be downright fraud, right? And so that's why it's good. It's just a person. So that's why it's good to take this and push it through a second appraisal review. And we use a company called True Valuation USA. They're awesome. I would highly recommend them. And it doesn't cost much. It's maybe a few $100s, and they basically corroborate what's in the original appraisal. Or they'll tell you, hey, there's some issues, here's what we see, and we can go back and review that prior to funding. So this is very useful. And then the next thing that I highly recommend, that I haven't seen a lot of people use yet, but I definitely recommend it, is an actual physical inspection. Now think of this as totally separate. This is not the appraisal. The appraisal gives you comparables and what the property is worth. The inspection tells you what's wrong with it. So going in, the roof, the exterior, the basement, the plumbing, the electrical, the doors and windows, all of that. So an inspection is what you would get if you were buying the place. And coming at this in a reverse order, if you had to sell it as a lender because the borrower defaulted and you foreclosed, you kind of want to know what's wrong with it, because a buyer on the open market is going to do this. And you can run into situations where, the roof needs to be repaired badly. And yes, the property might be worth $800,000, but it's going to cost $100,000 to fix the roof, right? So a buyer is going to get an inspection and say, look, I can't pay $800,000, I need to pay $7,000. So going in, this just helps you before you make a loan, you kind of know what's wrong or any major deferred maintenance. These are inexpensive. These are $300 to $600, and you're going to have people push back on this and say, oh, we don't need it. But this is true peace of mind, and I've learned that in the past where, I really wish we would have had an inspection on certain properties, but it's real peace of mind. And just a quick buzz, really quick through what this looks like. They're going to go through every major system, so basically the roof, electrical, plumbing, foundation, HVAC, and they're going to send you pictures, right? They're going to take photos of everything. So you're going to have kind of a nitty-gritty detail. And just keep in mind, you're not looking for perfection. Every property has problems, right? You're looking for major issues that would have to be remedied if you were to sell it. So there's some cracks on the foundation here. You can see that this is a project that we were going to fund. Nothing major, right? These are all cosmetic. So that all kind of ties together in loan to value and safety margin. So while you're looking at the property itself, you're going to calculate the loan to value, or the LTV, and we typically cap that at 65 or 70%. So this provides like a 30 to 35% cushion for the lender, for us. And this is very simple to calculate. You just have the loan amount divided by the appraised value, right? And so we're going to look at this once we have the appraisal and then we have the inspection. let's say there's major repairs in the inspection, like $100,000, we're going to remove that and back the appraisal down $100,000 to really account for that, right? So this is just keeping in mind that we're stacking the deck in our favor. Nothing is for sure, but this drastically helps prevent issues and mishaps and helps you sleep well at night. So to wrap up, what I'd like to say is some of the things that we have learned is that borrowers are overly optimistic, which is fine. As lenders, we should be pessimistic, meaning we're not looking for the perfect deal, but we are looking for security as much as we can get it. And so, the borrower's optimistic, but the lender takes a lot of risk in deals. And one of the things that I've learned, that I think we've all learned in life, is that things always take longer than anticipated. 6 months means 12 months in real life. It just takes longer. So we as lenders, we should eliminate as much as possible that can go wrong. Now, we can't control everything, but things like escrowing for taxes and insurance, ordering an inspection like I just talked about on the property, confirming the appraisal through more than one credible source, all of those things really help. And then two last important things that I want to mention is it's really important that the borrower has actual cash in the deal. And what I mean by that is not appreciation, but W-2 cash or otherwise from their business, meaning they have something to lose. And the reason for that is it's different from appreciation, where they might have a couple $100,000 of appreciation. It's easy for them to walk away because it's kind of fake money for them. Whereas if they actually put a couple $100,000 of their savings into this property at some point, that's a big deal, and they're highly unlikely to walk away from that. So when you can stack that in your favor, that's really good. And then, the ability to exit the deal as planned always changes, right? So keep that in mind. It's not perfect. A lot of this is outside forces, right? It's financing, the ability to sell quickly, rental demand, etc. So you're not looking for a perfect loan. You're just stacking the deck in your favor to where if things go off the rails, you don't feel poorly about it. You know that you're going to get your money back. All right. Hope you've enjoyed that. If you'd like to discuss more, go ahead and just scan the QR code with your phone. You can schedule a call with me. Feel free to email me directly. I'd be happy to talk with you. All right. Take care.